Bob has just logged in. So we will,
sorry,
Bob, that's
sorry.
okay. How you doing?
Good. I just kept on getting an invalid screen name or something. But Sandy fixed it all for me. Thank you, Sandy.
Okay. So we'll call the meeting to right into it with Sam. Basically taking those first two, the first one being the COVID-19 project impacts. For other than, to be being assessed would probably be a very popular term right now.
Yeah. Thank you, Joel, members of the committee. I'll do a quick update on COVID, and then we can jump into my my OPM update memo. And then I'm not sure if I have, if I do have an issue, I did send you the memo ahead of time just in case. So if it kicks me out or doesn't allow me to post, then if you could post my memo afterwards, but let's give it a try. So just an update on where we are with COVID. So for folks, if you've been out on property, Gilbane and the trades are, have been required to be in compliance with all the state and DOH requirements, and that's everything from kind of the sanitation on site, social distancing, health checks, all the aspects that we've heard, as well as how the trades are trying to manage through this process. In parallel to that, we are in kind of ongoing assessment, to use Joel's word, as far as the actual trade impacts. As you can imagine, a lot of these things are not easily quantifiable yet. We're trying to put our hands around what, if any, impacts there are, as well as looking at things that we don't even know about yet, such as supply chain, some of those issues that we're definitely seeing on other projects. And it has everything to do with kind of where you are in the project and what might be impacted from a manufacturing or a shipping standpoint. So those are things that we continue to kind of observe and work with Gilbane on how to best target these issues and strategize around, are there cures, or are there any other impacts that might arise? From a project administration standpoint, Gilbane continues to work remotely for all their non-field staff. So their team members are either working out of the office and or at home, really for the past, for the core of the kind of the offline timeframe that we had to stay at home. During that period, though, they do have rotations in and out of the property with key management team members, as well as they still have field operations continuing full time. So your superintendents, your general soup, Bill Hinchy, as well as the team that he has working under him, continue to be on site, both to coordinate and observe construction as they would in a normal condition, but then also to maintain adherence with the state requirements. Procurement, as we mentioned last month, continues, albeit in a completely remote scenario, virtual scenario. So we have ongoing scope review meetings. Those are all happening virtually with their procurement agent kind of running those activities with trades as we cycle through the RTAs that we'll talk about in a couple of minutes. So in general, I think that the team and then our OPM team still remains on site. So our full-time team members, Eric Andrudis, who's on this on the call tonight, as well as Mark Peters, have been on site pretty much since the beginning of the stay-at-home requirement, taking off sometime here and there if they had to be at home to kind of support anything going on there. But we've had, I would say we've had complete coverage throughout the process, if not the full coverage that we've really been maintaining since we started the work. And so I'm going to try and bring this up, and if it fails, you'll know because I'll get kicked out. Let's see here. All right. Can everybody see that?
Yes, I have it.
Yep, it's good.
You can see my screen. Great. So I'm just going to maximize this, I hope. Great. So I'm just going to walk through our, the traditional memo that you should all be familiar with, starting with design and permitting coordination. DEM, we're happy to let everybody know that we cleared the final hurdle, which was with the final Army Corps of Engineer approvals. If you recall, last month we were still dealing with an issue of getting the Army Corps to do their final sign-off. And given the amount of work that they were doing supporting the, all the COVID-related activities, as well as still responding to the projects that they had to deal with, it was a slow review. Because this was deemed a self-verification project, which means that basically DEM as the local authority, permitting authority, had the ability to kind of ensure to the Army Corps that it was going to follow their requirements and move forward. So we received that last month, and we're going to be able to close out that item. With the RIDOT permit, we're still going through final review on that. PAR will be sending their final responses. Actually, PAR sent their final responses at the end of last week, and we hope to be closing that out soon. With the RIDOT work, while we want to get that closed and completed, as far as the permitting side of it, we still have a little bit of time because we're not yet moving into the right-of-way out there. So we've got a little bit of flexibility as we move through that. But we do want to get that locked up. City of East Providence, happy to announce that we are. Yes. Yep.
But just on the RIDOT, I just want to let the group know we did send that letter into the governor's office regarding the paving in front of the school that RIDOT was requiring. We haven't heard back on that, but on that letter was we copied in Representative Amori and Senator Conley, and I believe that's accurate, right, Kathy?
Yes, it is. I haven't heard back, but you know what? I'll give a little blurb out to him tomorrow, Kevin Gallagher.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Joel, while we're kind of paused there, Sam, looking at the dates of, we initially sent our RIDOT application back around Christmas, got, responses at the end of February, kind of responded immediately. And then I can see that there was kind of, a month or so between the latest round of questions and the response. Were the questions detailed or difficult to answer, or many, or all of the above, or?
Yeah, I think some of the questions required, say, for instance, Nate, that we had to prepare a plat map in order to get through the final hurdles with RIDOT. So we had to re-engage our surveying team. They had to go through their process of actually drawing that information up and then getting that submitted. So this last stretch took a little bit more time just to kind of get through those final steps.
Okay. I mean, it seems strange that wouldn't be a requirement for the initial application, or that the initial application requirements would require so much refinement before we can get to. But again, I haven't gone through this before, but.
Yeah, and I would say that some of those requirements were a bit of a surprise to the AE team at the end. They were not some of the typical things that the RIDOT would require. So they were not expected, and then they were added in at the end of the process. In order to get that all the way through, the team just kind of gutted through it to get through those next steps.
Okay. Is it fair to say that that's sort of consistent with all of our response or permitting with the state offices? I mean, DEM, I know we got some questions. We certainly didn't anticipate. RIDOT, I know RIDE, we go back and forth with RIDE on a fairly consistent basis. I'm just wondering for feeding up the chain and talking to local elected officials, if, a little bit more can be put into the process to begin with, so we know what we need to hit, when we submit the initial package.
Yeah, I would say that PAR understood what they needed. There was just additional items that RIDOT brought to the table. I would say DEM was really just a function of how much work they had on their plate, and then kind of getting that through all the steps in the process due to the fact that they were overwhelmed with workload. And then at the tail of it, you had the introduction of what happened with COVID. So.
Okay, I won't beat that up anymore. Thank you.
All right. So construction procurement. Oh no, I'm sorry. City of East Providence. More good news. We received our final building permit approval. I think effective on Friday. So that has been. It went through fire, and then we got our final review and approval through Rob Walker and his team at the end of last week. Our only final step is to go ahead and make our payment for the state ADA fee, which we've done as we've gone through each increment. I know Craig has been working on getting that final piece, but we do have the permit in hand. So it did not slow us down at all, obviously, out in the field. And we were able to get through those final approval steps. So we're thankful to our city partners for everything they were able to do to support that process. Construction procurement. So you'll see this list that you've seen on an ongoing basis as we've gone through all the packages. So this first group of packages are currently under review by Gilbane. There's a little bit more than a dozen packages there. And then we do have the final packages. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 remaining packages that are out on the street and going to be rolling through submittals and review and descoping in the coming weeks. The GMP, an update for the group, and we've talked about this regularly at our past meetings. So we did receive an initial draft in April. The team has been going through kind of a rolling process and review of that. It will be ready. We have asked for it to be ready for the June meeting. I'm still going to hold out some caveats on that based on their buyout timing. But right now we have informed Gilbane that we want that to be ready to be under review by the building committee ahead of the June meeting and then up for review and approval at the June meeting. So that'll give an opportunity for everybody to see that document well in advance of that approval step. And the only thing I would say that is if we do run into any issues, i.e. kind of the final packages being concluded and bought out, that we may need to consider a second meeting or a deferred meeting in June. And, you know, I don't know if it would make sense to just put that on the schedule now, you know, at the end of this meeting, so that we have that backstop. And it may be that we don't do the early June meeting and we do the later meeting, but I'd like to have both of them on there just so we can plan accordingly and make sure that you as the building committee have ample time to review the document and that we have time to discuss it as well. So you don't feel like it's coming at you with no real opportunity to review and approve the process. Again, consistent with our previous updates, you can see the RTAs. Yep.
Sam,
Yep.
do we need a motion on that?
For the second meeting.
So some discussion here. We can take that now, Gene, if you'd like. If someone would like to make a motion or discuss that idea, now is a good time.
I'll make a motion. We schedule a meeting in June. Review if needed, to review the GMP, the final GMP.
So do we want to add a meeting, right? We want to keep our regular June schedule and add a second one as a fallback?
That's what I was trying to say.
Okay. Yeah, it was kind of breaking up, so I wasn't sure. So that would put us. So right now, our June 8th. So Sam, would you go to the 22nd?
Yeah, I would say add the 22nd as a second date, and then we can be working for the next 3 or 4 weeks and make a decision if you still have the 2 or you have the 1. But I think the 22nd makes logical sense. It's 2 weeks after, and you still may want to do a 2-part review as well, right? So that gives you that flexibility to review it and then come back, or review it ahead of time and come back.
Right, but again, to be clear, the message is that we'll have, we'll have it in our possession prior to the first meeting.
That's the intent. Again, subject to any of those any issues with the final steps of procurement. But we've indicated that June 8th is the review and approval time.
Okay.
We haven't provided any additional time for them.
So we have a motion from Gene Oakland to add June 22nd as a second building committee meeting for the month.
I'll second that.
A second by Mr. Vinatero. And do we have all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. So Sharon, if you can kind of note that.
Yes, Joel, just to be clear, there's a motion to add June 22nd as a second building committee meeting to review the final GMP
Yeah, if needed, yes.
if needed. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay.
Great. Just continuing with the update memo, right here, you'll see the status of the RTAs awarded to date. So we've been adding to this at a much higher velocity over the last 30 to 45 days. And again, we'll continue to be stretching that over the next, over the coming weeks to kind of get to that final GMP amount with that list that I showed above. MBWB participation, right now we're still standing at just above 17%, which is roughly where we were, I believe, last month. And each package that comes in, again, goes to the state for their review and sign off before it comes back, and then ultimately gets put in front of the procurement working group for their sign off and execution. Commissioning has been ramping up as these trades up above in the RTA spreadsheet have come on board. That integration of the Stephen Turner team, who is our commissioning agent, as those vendors come on board, and also as that vendor's work is getting underway. So you'll see Stego, which is part of our moisture barrier process that's out on site. They're into that review now. They've been part of concrete, and they'll continue through as we start to ramp up into the envelope, which is really where they become very active. Envelope, roof, and then into the MEP trades as those start to come online as well. Major milestones, we have phase 1 site work started just after, or actually just before our meeting last month, because we had that the early April meeting. Slab and deck, we'll talk a little bit more on pictures that we have. MEP, FP, that's mechanical, electrical, plumbing, fire protection, rough-in. We'll be starting up next month. And then we just talked about our next SBC meeting. I'm going to scroll here, and then this is our 4-week look ahead. And you'll see on this document that the amount of X's we have in here has gone up significantly. As the trades are coming on board, they are ramping up with their mobilization activities, as well as the existing trades that were already on board, that they're also, just continuing with their work. So Di Gregorio is our site contractor. They've pretty much been mobilized on site since they had the previous site package, and now they're on for the full site work of the project. Marguerite,
You enlarge that a little bit.
What's that?
You enlarge that a little bit.
Yeah. I think take some of your functionality away. And we're going to lose a little bit of the clarity in there, Gene, but hopefully folks can still see that. So Marguerite, structural steel, exterior wall framing, spray fireproofing, AVB, which is our air vapor barrier, roofing mobilization, windows, hasn't really started yet, but they're in the kind of the 3 to 4 week look ahead. And then you see some of the site work. The electrical work is getting underway, and then mechanical, electrical, or mechanical, plumbing, fire protection, some of the early work as well in that. So what was kind of a stacked schedule that we've been seeing previously is now starting to be occupied with all the trades again, as those RTAs are being executed, this starts to become fully populated. And that'll be the case really, for the next probably 12 to 14 months as we see all these trades active on property.
Sam, could I ask, is it possible for you to email copies of this to us so that we could have a hard copy?
Yes.
You should have that.
I don't.
It wasn't no.
It wasn't in the
check.
package. No.
Yeah, it was in the pack. What?
I got it.
I didn't.
I got it.
Okay, my mistake.
Yeah, I got it.
Maybe if
Okay.
you don't have it, I can have Sharon send it back out.
If you could, thank you.
The OPM report?
I had the OPM, but it was
The
only
4
one.
weeks. So
It should have been all in there.
Okay, I'll just go back and reprint it. It must have been something, an error on my end.
Yeah, Manny, it's a total of 6 pages, just if you want to double check against what you printed.
Yeah, I just got 2 pages, the invoice and your April 2020 project meeting activities.
yeah, that was different. That's a different
Oh, okay.
email.
I sent it separately this morning.
Oh, I didn't print anything from this morning. Okay,
Okay.
thank you.
Just to tie to that schedule, and again, if folks have, excuse me, have been anywhere near the property, safely distanced, you'll see really the probably 2/3 to 3/4 of the total kind of steel structure is visible now. Zone 1 is the outstanding area right here, which is closest to the CTC. That's the gymnasium end of the building. But the massing and kind of the scale of the building, I think, can really be appreciated if you're out there and you can kind of take a look at this picture right here to kind of see how it sits on the property and also how it kind of relates to the existing building. I sat out there for about an hour watching these guys hoist steel the other day, so you really get an appreciation for how they're moving through all the steel erection that's happening on site. Under slab utility work is happening. This is kind of the stuff that nobody really looks at too much, but very intense as we're getting ready on as we're going through the slab pours. All that utility work needs to be ensured to be brought online so that as we pour and as we go vertical, all those things start to go vertical as well. So that's kind of the visual update on the property. And then finally on the budget, what we see here is our encumbered number has gone up. It really matches almost less the general conditions, general requirements. It matches what we saw up above with the approved RTAs. We've expended about 17% of the total project budget at this point. So again, we're going to see these monthly, the dollars incurred monthly are going to start to escalate as all these trades come in and they really start to build into the monthly requisitions that we're going through and approving with Gilbane and with AI3. So that's the conclusion of the report. Happy to answer any questions from the committee.
I had a question if I could, and I don't have that estimate in front of me, but there's 2 items that we've talked about. One was the DOT at $60,000 for the paving, and the other is the invoice from the city for $40,000 for the permit for building permits. Are those already included in the estimate, Sam?
Yeah, so Bob, we had and the city permit fee was actually a state permit fee, but the local jurisdiction charges for it. That's the ADA fee that gets applied to every building permit. So that is in this line item here, this building permit fee. I don't know if you can see my cursor, but it's 2 up from the bottom of the owner's cost. So we had $150,000 in there, which was based on kind of a per $1,000 allocation.
Right. Okay.
And then the DOT, the additional improvements were included in the project design documents, as we weren't sure whether we were going to be successful at all in the state, either taking on that work and or somehow reimbursing the owner for those costs since they weren't technically, on property, true bricks and sticks for the school itself.
Okay, so we've covered that in there, and we don't have to worry about that coming back at us later on.
Correct. I'll just say, as we've always said, we're still working against our target budget, which is the 157.2, and we still have all those remaining packages that we have here.
Yeah, there's a lot.
We've been trending, I think, in a pretty good direction, but we don't know what we don't know yet. So you have all this exposure still, which is about a third of the remaining of the total packages. Things like demo and abatement are always a pretty big risk and exposure for the owner. So while we've been trending in a relatively good place so far, we don't know kind of what some of these final packages will bring. And that's where you do tend to see some overages, just given the specificity that you have from 75% to 100%, and then a little bit more volatility in the marketplace.
And the MBEs, do you think you're still going to be at 10% at the end of the job, or?
Yeah, I mean, good question, Bob. I know we are striving through everything that the team does, and especially Gilbane, to ensure that these packages have the required participation. It is hard though, because all it takes is one or two to kind of kick that number more to the right or the left, depending on which one's the bad direction. But the fact that we're still in the upper teens, I think, is a positive trend. Now we just have to see how much we can hold on to that as we kind of go through these final.
I think you're doing very, very well in that number. Even if you end up with a 9% number, it's still pretty good for a sized project like this. Very good.
And again, I think going back to, I think the owner and the team have demonstrated a lot of really strong best efforts. So it's certainly that there has been a lot of attention to the process, knowing that this is, looked at as an exemplar. It's the biggest and the newest ride project that's going to come out of the ground for a decade. So I think collectively everybody's been trying to ensure that remains a focus of the procurement process.
Thank you.
All right. Is that it for you, Sam?
That's all I have.
All right. So next item is consider and vote to approve invoices for services. As I like to do, if Craig, if you have those handy, or do you want me to run through them?
No, I have them right here in front of me.
Okay. Has everyone had a chance to look over, or are there any questions before Craig runs through them?
Yes, right. No questions from me.
Okay. So I think we're ready to go. Thanks, Craig.
Okay. So for the month of April 2020, AI3 basic services, $145,414.79. Gilbane Building Company, $3,269,593.40. Peregrine Group LLC, $59,000. Filch Engineering, $7,540. Stephen Turner Inc., $7,523. And then lastly, the East Providence School Department, $48,000, for a grand total of $3,537,071.20.
And I assume this comes with recommendation from Sam and his company for payment of these invoices.
Yes, sir. They've all been reviewed.
You need a motion?
Please.
Yep.
So move passage of all those invoices as presented.
Motion by Mr. Wagon. Do we have a second by, who was that?
Steve.
Steve with the second. Yeah, Steve Amoroso with the second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? All right, so those pass. Thanks, folks. And next is consider and vote to approve the minutes from the April 20th, 2020 meeting. Any questions, concerns? All right, do we have a motion?
So
I'll
moved.
make that motion then.
So we have a, we're gonna give the motion to Craig and a second by Tony Fiola.
That
Put it
works.
in order. Feels like Jeopardy. You guys gotta hit the button a little quicker.
Always a bridesmaid, Tony.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Or thumbs up is good. Any opposed? All right, so that carries. Next meeting day we handled earlier, so we have June 8th and June 22nd. We will assume, unless otherwise notified, that it'll also be a 6:30 start. Again, our expectation is that we will come to that June 8th meeting ready to discuss GMP in hand that we're reviewing. So that's the goal, and also hopefully to have some more updates on any, if any, COVID impacts.
Hey,
Yeah, I
Joel,
think it's, yes.
I'm sorry, I didn't know if you're not finished. I didn't mean to jump in.
No, please go ahead.
I just want to clarify, the expectation for us is that the June 8th meeting, at least the June 8th meeting, will be a remote meeting like this. We don't plan to meet again in person for, we'll probably get a couple meetings notice before we start to try that again, so.
Correct, yes, good point, yes, yeah, we should absolutely anticipate another virtual meeting, which, by the way, hats off to this group, because, I mean, I've been on Zoom calls and everything else all day today, and this is by far the largest group, and I've had smaller groups with less success. So thank you, Ben, Sharon, and I know Sandra stepped in to help out with some getting on, so that's appreciated. So again, we'll have that the June 8th and the June 22nd GMP COVID update. What else?
Joel,
There was
Joel, I
something
had a
else.
question.
Yeah.
For the June 8th meeting, are we going to be discussing the GMP there, or just getting it that night and then discussing it later on?
No, our expectation is that you will receive it before that meeting.
Okay.
Best case scenario, Bob, is that we have it and are clear and in a position to make a decision
On June 8th.
on June 8th, but
That's fine.
we may need to do it, as Sam said, in parts. But yes, you should have it before that meeting so that we come having seen it, having kind of put our questions on paper and prepared to discuss.
Great, thank you.
Can I add one thing to that, Joel?
Sure.
Every single member on this team brings some unique experience. I think we've all learned something about a school building along the way, but everybody here is here for a specific reason, for a specific set of expertise. So please lend all of that expertise to that GMP review, right? Bring all of your questions. Seriously, I mean, this is probably the most important thing that we've done to date as far as reviewing. I mean, this is going to be kind of our linchpin document for the way through. So, take no prisoners, right? I mean, just, go like crazy. I know where I plan to focus, and I ask the same of each of you, just because, again, you're all here for a reason. So thank you, and we're glad we have your expertise. We want to use it.
Absolutely, well said.
Could I ask the superintendent, is Ben Scungio going to be reviewing that document also?
He can, if you would like him to.
Yeah,
But
his
that's
office
his
is,
thing.
I would feel very comfortable if he did, just for the legal aspects. The dollars and cents we can review and debate, but for the legal perspective, Ben has always been giving us excellent advice.
yeah. Well, Kathy, he's definitely anticipating that piece. I know myself and Sam and Nate through different exchanges it's come up. So,
So will Sam send it out to Ben then? Okay,
yes.
all right, thank you.
Will do.
Any other questions? All right, well, with that again, thanks folks. This is a nice timely meeting. And, you know, I wish we all had someplace far to go, but we're getting there. And if there's no other questions, I will accept a motion to adjourn.
Before you do that, I had a comment.
Yes,
I
please.
try going out there almost every weekend to take a look at it, even being down in North Kingstown. They're doing very well. It really is impressive. And when I go by there on Sunday and I'd be able to speak up as close as I can to the structure, it's really very good. I've overseen a lot of buildings and it's very impressive what they're doing. So if you haven't had a chance to get out there, get out there. It's really very good.
Yeah, no, good point. It is. You know, it's that much more real, right? When you see it in person and, you know, you kind of say, all right, this is coming to fruition. And, you know, I think Sam mentioned the amount of steel that has, you know, come in, I think in the last week or so, what, 6 to 8, you know, truckloads. And, you know, I think you go back a few weeks when the COVID thing hit, you know, we were expecting a complete halt, and it's trickled in and work has continued. And, you know, credit to, you know, the Gilbane team and Peregrine and, you know, AI3, all the folks coming together. And, you know, there's been some shift with the timing. So
GMP comes in.
But yeah. We're not giving them too much praise. But, you know, it's just, I know that was a concern for many residents. You know, I'm sure some of us were asked that, you know, are they going to still be working? And absolutely they have, and it really haven't seen a slowdown. So let's keep that going. And it's optimistic. Trades, you know, businesses are opening back up. So I think we're moving in the right direction to get ourselves, you know, back in motion. So
Motion to adjourn.
Mr. Wagan makes a motion. Do we have a second?
Second,
Second by Kathy, I believe.
yep.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Want to stay? No? All right. Thanks, folks. Again, hey, have a great, you know, couple weeks, few weeks, and stay healthy and enjoy yourselves however you can safely. Thank you.
Thank you, Joe. Good night, everyone.
Good night.